Hey, how's it going? Hope that you're doing well. And in this video, I just want to talk about the importance of the need to change through our own re education. Because self education is the way that we can escape, however tricky this world has become. Because everything that has been presented is something that you have to rediscover, reinterpret, and reapply in whatever situation you're in. Because when you look at how Africa has been exploited, you see that all of the ideas that you were supposed to be using in order to innovate and implement in whatever environment you're not able to do that because of how greed has corrupted the whole system. That if you had an idea from a different country, from a book, from a program, from TV, you're supposed to be able to apply it in whatever country you're in and do it. But you're not able to do that because everything is being manipulated by how people imagine what the African thought process to be. And this is often not true. So these lies have been perpetrated and perpetually being taken as real. And this has created a mindset in people that render them useless, that render them inferior, and that render them uncultured. So so when you have the understanding that you have to educate yourself, to re-educate yourself, it means that you have to take your own mind seriously, your own life seriously, and be on a path whereby you're embarking on a journey of acquiring knowledge, because knowledge is true power, and the essence of knowledge is information, is wisdom, is humility, is the ability to listen. Because when you're listening, what you're doing is listing and enabling. So list enabling. To list is to have cunning. So to have cunning is to have a certain amount of strength, a certain spirit that gives you the ability to get a certain result. So having that cunning aspect is the ability to listen. To listen is also to tilt. So to tilt yourself, to enable yourself to be tilted. This is the ability to listen. So when you're listed, you're tilted. When you're tilted, you're listening. So when you give your ear to something, you're tilting yourself, you're inclining yourself to that type of direction. You're leaning towards that. So when you're able to have the understanding that through listening you have power, through learning, through re-education, you have self fulfillment and you have self awareness. So the biggest issue that I'm dealing with in my life is how I can introduce myself to myself, because I haven't been given the platform to actually know what my ancestors did, what my forefathers did, what my predecessors were up to. But I was fed this understanding that the people who are your ancestors, meaning me, the people who are my ancestors are people who are of a lower vibration, of a lower mind, and who are really just basically useless. The only the only productive use for these people was to make them slaves. And even today we're still slaved, or we're still enslaved, because we don't have the knowledge of self, we don't have self-awareness. So the enslavement is now mental. So the mental prisons have to be broken by the power of knowledge. My people perish from a lack of knowledge. My people perish because they don't have the information. They don't have inner formation, inward formation. So they can't move in a certain formation. They don't have that strength. So finding power is finding this knowledge through self-reflection, through silence, through listening. So when you say silent, this is an anagram for listen. So when you're silent, this is the only time when you can actually listen. And when you see how twisted this world has become, how you're supposed to look at it, like even when you read the truth in the Bible, what you're reading is the truth that is veiled. So you have to to uncover the truth, you have to know that the truth is being presented everywhere and in everything. Like these movies we're watching, like when you watch Avatar, they're talking about how the Native Americans used to live, right? Native Americans. I don't know what that is, but they're talking about how the Americans used to live. These are the true Americans, and how their life was taken away. So when I first watched Avatar, I actually thought it was I thought they were making an analogy with Africa, because the Americans and the Africans and the Asians were just the same people. So how they lived is how I actually relate to it. Like how we had this connection with nature, with everything. This is the same thing. When you look at that aspect, it's just the same thing as in Africa, because they are actually Africans who went to America. So when you're looking at how the Americans in Avatar are trying to find this unobtainium, and they go and destroy this tree. This is actually the family tree. This is the same thing that's happened to anyone who is being enslaved mentally. That what was destroyed is a family tree, and some of the damage seems to be irreparable, and some of the damage is just unaccounted for. Like, where are the reparations? Like, where are the reparations? Like, when they had wars, when they slaughtered Jews, like, they actually had reparations for them. But for the Africans, it's not an option, because once there are reparations and the Africans actually have the economic power to pull their resources and all of their wealth, then they have true financial power and true economic power, or just practical power, because what is trapping us is our economic enslavement because of our mental entrapment. So when you re-educate yourself, when you rediscover who you are, like the greatness that is in you, I don't mean that the only people who are awesome are black people or even American, like Native Americans. But everyone has this heritage, and we live in this matrix that is cocooning our minds to look at certain things in a certain way, like how we react to the TV programs is to program our minds. And this is working, because this is how the world is operating, and this is how the world twirls. That we're looking at Cardi B and the Kardashians, and this is how our society is defined, by these characteristics through their characters. So they're acting. So they're giving us an impression of how we should be, and this is what is approved by mass society. And when you're actually looking for yourself, what you're trying to escape are those caricatures that are being promoted by these mediums. Like the television is the vision teller, and it's telling you the vision, and it's in the middle. That's the medium. That's the media. And this medium, it's a spiritual medium that is giving us this understanding of what life is supposed to be like according to the gospel of Hollywood. So when you rediscover yourself, you really look at what is important and what is fake, the reality from the facade. And what you discover is the greatness that is really in you, which is the ability to do anything. How were people building pyramids in Mexico? They were building pyramids that were aligned with the sun in the sense that they were able to reflect solar flares every 11 years through a certain hole in a certain pyramid every 11 years. So what was the mathematical genius that was behind those architects? How were they building these pyramids in Asia? Like, we always talk about Egypt, right? Because they're awesome. But how were they building them in Peru? Like, how were they constructing things in different continents? Even Mesopotamia, how were they doing this? So we're not on the same level of understanding, and this is why we have to rediscover who we are, so that we can at least try to match up to the little bit of things that they used to do. This is why I am searching for the land of Punt. This is why I am searching for the principle of Ubuntu. Ubuntu. This is what I'm searching for. Because I know that with their ancient understanding, their ancient wisdom, we have a profound insight into the nature of reality that we're not privy to because of the way that the society is set up and the way that we are taught to fixate our minds on societies, our minds on money, our minds on accumulating wealth. This is what they're force feeding us, and this is what the vision is telling us to do. This is what the spirit medium is saying. All the things that they actually have, like all the things that they took, are the things that are being used against us. How we used to understand the world, how we used to have symbols that communicate to us our environment through the natural reflections of life, through resonance, through shapes, through sounds, through actions, through vibrations. People used to actually create vibrations through sounds and words. The African alphabets, the African algorithms. How shocking is that? That our alphabets, our algorithms, our societies, our technology, our civilization, our socialization, our policies, our politics, all comes from this land that is being misused, that is being raped, that is being ravaged, that is being exploited. How incredible is that? So, what sort of system do we live in? How fraudulent is it that the people who are giving us information are the people who are keeping us in darkness? When we read the Greek philosophers, what we're looking at is the birth of the Western civilization. The birth of the Western civilization is through Socrates, Plato, Pythagoras. And the first thing you discover when you read Socrates, Plato, Pythagoras is where they said they were educated. This is not me, and this is them who say that, like, I went to Egypt, I went to Kemet, I went to Nubia, and I was educated in the arts of the Nubians. And through this, they're able to understand the world that is around them. But many years later, this is now a place that is forsaken, a place that is just like the bottom of the barrel, the slums of the world, the armpit of the galaxy. And this is the cradle of mankind. When you look at the Garden of Eden, God said the first river flowed from Havilah. The first river flowed from Havilah. The first place mentioned is Havilah. The second place mentioned is Cush. The third place mentioned is Syria. The fourth place is Mesopotamia. This is the Garden of Eden. So why can't they find the Garden of Eden? It's because they don't know the first place. Like, where could Havilah be? Havilah is Southern Africa. Havilah is the land of Punt. The second place is Cush, which is where the Egypts emerged, which is where the pyramids emerged, which is where civilization has its grounding through the axis of the Middle East, which is the middle of the world, where you have access to Europe, Asia, and the Americas, and Africa. So this is why this was the land, the Holy Land, because through this you have like the bottleneck of the whole world. This is where the Garden of Eden is located. And this is part of this understanding that when you educate yourself in what happened in these four places, in Havilah, in Cush, in Syria, which talks about Lebanon and the Phoenicians, and in Mesopotamia, which talks about the fallen angels. This is when you understand what the world is all about. And this has nothing to do with Western philosophy, because these Western philosophies were schooled by these four areas. This is where they got their understanding. And through Africa, they were educated. Through Africa, they got their understanding and their bearings. And this is how the whole world flourished. So re-educating yourself is gaining the true awareness of history, which is gaining the true awareness of the future, which is gaining the essence of the present. Because the people who control the future control the past. The people who control the past are the people who control the present. So these people are keeping their mouth shut and people's eyes closed to where their information comes from. This is the secret of the secret societies, that they don't want you to know, or they do want you to know, that they got educated in Egypt, they got educated in Kush, in Havila. This is what they don't want you to know. This is why they use a pyramid as the seal of their secrecy. Because through these places, they were given certain information that gives them the power and the control of the whole world. Because these people knew the essence of reality. They knew the properties of nature. And they knew the language of the universe. So through these places, these people were able to go and infiltrate, go and take over, and after taking over, they're able to use this information as their own, as their own. So I actually don't blame Socrates and Plato because they said that they went to Egypt. I blame the people who came after them, who disregard the basis or the source of their information. Now, if you read about Western philosophy or society, if you know that they learned in Egypt, it means that you've done some research. But on the surface, you're not supposed to know this. This is a secret thing. This is how secret societies start, because through this knowledge in these schools, people were able to access certain powers that are dormant in every human being, especially the melanated ones who were able to propound, who were able to teach, who were able to facilitate the learning of the whole globe. So I guess it's just part of my DNA that I just have to be expressing these things, expressing these thoughts, because this is what my forefathers were doing. No one told me this. I had to find out on my own, or they had to tell me through other means. And this is what I know today to be true. This is what I know to be the essence of this reality. And this is what's trapping us in this society that is fixated, that is addicted, and that is only focused with making money, making a quick buck. This is where it's all coming to. This is all the need for greed, an affinity for the cash. And through this greed, this is why the love of money is the root of all evil. Through this greed, we have people who are now ravaging the motherland. People in Africa have it the worst in the world. It's like it's not even in this planet. It's like we're children of a lesser God. It's like we don't matter to the whole scheme of things. But when you know that all of the Western society, like just go and search, the first Greek philosopher isn't Plato, isn't Socrates. The first Greek philosopher is called Thales of Miletus, a Phoenician, which is the fourth place, right? Say that Havila, which is the southern part of Africa. Kush, which is the northern part of Africa. And you have Syria, which is the Middle East, and you have Mesopotamia and Turkey. This is the Garden of Eden. Thales came to Kush, and in Kush he was educated. And this is the basis of all Greek philosophy. Just Google him, search him, and verify. And when you hear about our society, you don't hear about where knowledge came from. But what do people associate Africa with in your mind right now on TV? Why don't they say the truth? What are they reporting on TV? What are they reporting? Another war. It's like they're reporting wars in the Middle East, in the Garden of Eden, like they're commenting on a soccer match. Like Al Jazeera is just a channel that's just dedicated to commenting on this war, like it's like some entertainment type of stuff. Why can't they stop the war? Okay, because they lost the essence of the bond of brotherhood. They lost the essence of the bond of love, the bonfire of love, the heat of love. This is the expression of Ubuntu. And this word, it sounds like a dirty word now if I say it, like Ubuntu. But this is Hotep. This is Hotep. This is peace. Peace be unto you. This is the King of Salem. This is Melchizedek. This is who is the King of peace. This is Hotep. This is peace. This is Ubuntu. And this is what we lost because we need money. So the love of money is the root of diverse evils. And just because Africa is so rich, that's why it's so poor. It's a myth. Africa is not poor. The people have been impoverished. There are no reparations for them. If they had the money, like if every African, which is what is supposed to happen because of slave trade and colonization and what have you, what's supposed to happen, people are supposed to get reparations. Imagine if the supposedly 1.2 billion people in Africa get 50 grand each. No, not even 50 grand. Let's just say 10 grand. Lives will change. Minds will open. Like, we won't worry about money, but we'll seek after righteousness. But right now, everything we do is fixated on us making money because we're impoverished, even though our land is filled with gold. So funny, the irony. So it's so crazy. So when you understand the truth, it's like you see the world in a different light. That, what is truly important is who you are as a person, right? But how you live in this world determines what impacts you leave and what footprint your children, or what legacy you leave for your children to follow through your footprints, because that is the path you've taken. So when you just look at this poverty in Africa, the lack of knowledge and awareness of who they are, the greatest schools in the world, the greatest schools the world has ever seen. Harvard education is nothing compared to what was happening in Timbuktu. Harvard is nothing compared to Timbuktu. Harvard is nothing compared to Ghana education. This is why I wear this. This kente. This represents that knowledge. These are the Pan-African flags. This is the coat of many colors. So when you understand that the heritage that is being taken away from me and from you is huge, so that a few people who hold the secrets to the societies, secret societies, because the few people who hold the secrets of the societies are who are controlling the whole show, using the knowledge from the motherland in order to trap the motherland. So this is what we have, that people had this altruistic vision of teaching the whole world. And when they taught the whole world, they were ensnared by evil doers, because it's a fallen world. So there were people who were whispering these devilish elements in their ears. And instead of the brotherhood, they came with a gun, right? And when you read the book of Enoch, you read about how the fallen angels came and taught people how to make guns. That's what they did. Literally came and told people, this is how you make a gun. And this is how Africa was conquered, because of the knowledge of the fallen ones. So even though there were gods on earth, the fallen angels came in order to challenge God. This is how Ezekiel is saying, like, to the king of Tyre, like, you want to make yourself God, even though you're not God. So it's crazy. But just re-educate yourself and live to love. Thank you a lot. See you soon.